Okay, let's do this now. See the child. He is pale and thin. He wears a thin and ragged linen shirt. He strokes the scullery fire. Outside lie dark turned fields with rags of snow, and darker woods beyond that harbor yet a few last wolves. His folk are known for hewers of wood and drawers of water, but in truth his father has been a schoolmaster. He lies in drink. He quotes from poets whose names are now lost. The boy crouches by the fire and watches him. Night of your birth, 33, the Loinoids they were called. God, how the stars did fall. I looked for blackness, holes in the heavens, the dipper stove. The mother dead these 14 years did incubate in her own bosom the creature who would carry her off. The father never speaks her name. The child does not know it. He has a sister in this world that he will not see again. He watches, pale and unwashed. He can neither read nor write and in him brews already a taste for mindless violence. All history present in that visage, the child, the father of the man. At 14 he runs away. He will not see again the freezing kitchen house, the pre-dawn dark, the firewood, the washpots. He wanders west as far as Memphis, a solitary migrant upon the flat and pastoral landscape. Blacks in the fields, lank and stooped, their fingers spider-like among the bolls of cotton. A shadowed agony in the garden, against the sun's declining figures moving in the slower dusk across a paper skyline. A lone dark husbandman pursuing mule and harrow down the rain-blown bottomland toward the night. A year later he is in St. Louis. He is taken on for New Orleans aboard a flatboat. 42 days on the river. At night the steamboats hoot and trudge past through the black waters, all aligned like cities adrift. They break up the float and sell the lumber as he walks in the streets and hears tongues he has not heard before. He lives in the room above a courtyard behind a tavern, and he comes down at night like some fairy book beast to fight with the sailors. He is not big, but he has big wrists, big hands. His shoulders are set close. The child's face is curiously untouched behind the scars. The eyes oddly innocent. They fight with fists, with feet, with bottles, or knives. All races, all breeds. Men whose speech sound like the grunting of vapes. Men from land so far and queer that standing over them while they lie bleeding in the mud, he feels mankind itself vindicated. On a certain night, a Maltese boatsman shoots him in the back with a small pistol. Swinging to deal with the man, he is shot again just below the heart. The man flees, and he leans against the bar with the blood running out of his shirt. The others look away. After a while, he sits in the floor. He lies in the cot in the room upstairs for 2 weeks while the tavern keeper's wife attends to him. She brings his meals. She carries out her slops. A hard-looking woman with wiry body like a man's. By the time he is mended, he has no money to pay her and leaves in the night and sleeps on the riverbank until he can find a boat that will take him on. The boat is going to Texas. Only now is the child finally divested of all that he has been. His origins are become remote as his destiny, and not again in all the world's turning will there be terrain so wild and barbarous to try whether the stuff of creation may be shaped to man's will or whether his own heart is not another kind of clay. The passengers are a diffident lot. They cage their eyes, and no man asks another what is that brings him here. He sleeps on the deck, Pilgrim among others. He watches the dim shore rise and fall. Gray seabirds gawking, flights of pelicans coastwise above the gray swells. They disembark Aboard a lighter, settlers with their chattels, all studying the low coastline, the thin bite of sand and scrub pine swimming in their haze. In the haze, he walks through the narrow streets of the port. The air smells of salt and new sawn lumber. At night, horrors call to him from the dark like souls in want. A week and he is on the move again, a few dollars in his purse that he's earned, walking the sand roads of the southern night alone, his hand balled in the cotton pockets of his cheap coat. Earthen causeways across the marshlands, egrets and their rookeries, white as candles among the moss. The wind has a raw edge to it, and leaves lope by the roadside and skelter on the night's fields. He moves north through the small settlements and farms, working for day wages and found. He sees a parasite hanged in a crossroads hamlet, and the man's friends run forward and pull his legs, and he hangs dead from his rope while urine darkens his trousers. He works in a sawmill, he works in a diphthery pest house. He takes his pay from a farmer, an aged mule, and back this animal in the spring of the year 1849. He rides up through the latter-day Republic of Fredonia into the town of Nacogdoches. The Reverend Green had been playing to a full house nearly as long as the rain had been falling. The rain had been falling for 2 weeks. When the kid ducked into the ratty canvas tent, there was standing room along the walls, a place or two, and such a heady reek of the wet and bathless, and that they themselves would sally forth into the downpour now and again for fresh air before the rain drove them in again. He stood with others of his kind along the back wall. The only thing that might have distinguished him in the crowd was that he was not armed. Neighbors said the Reverend, he couldn't stay out of these hell holes right here in Nacogdoches. I said to him, you're gonna take the Son of God in there with you? And he said, oh no, I ain't. And I said, don't you know that he said, I will follow ye always, even unto the end of the road? Well, he said, I ain't asking nobody to go anywheres. And I said, neighbor, you don't need to ask. He's a-gonna be there with ye every step of the way, whether ye ask or ye don't. I said, neighbor, you can't get shed of him now, or you're gonna drag him into that hellhole yonder. You ever see such a place for rain? The kid had been watching the Reverend, and he turned to the man who spoke. He wore long mustaches after the fashion of teamsters, and he wore a wide-brimmed hat with low round crown. He was slightly wall-eyed, and he was watching the kid earnestly, as if he'd known his opinion about the rain. I just got here, said the kid. Well, it beats all I have ever seen. The kid nodded. An enormous man dressed in an oilcloth slicker had entered the tent and removed his hat. He was bald as a stone, and he had no trace of beard, and he had no brows to his eyes, nor lashes to them. He was close on to 7 feet in height, and he stood smoking a cigar, even in this nomadic house of God, and he seemed to have removed his hat only to chase the rain from it, for now he put it on again. The Reverend had stopped his sermon altogether. There was no sound in the tent. All watched the man. He adjusted the hat and then pushed his way forward as far as the crateboard pulpit, where the Reverend stood, and there he turned to address the Reverend's congregation. His face was serene and strangely childlike. His hands were small. He held them out. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel it my duty to inform you that the man holding this revival is an impostor. He holds no papers of divinity from any institution, recognized or improvised. He is altogether devoid of the least qualifications to the office he has usurped, and has only committed to memory a few passages from the good book for the purpose of lending to his fraudulent sermons some faint flavor of that piety he despises. In truth, the gentleman standing here before you, posing as a minister of the Lord, is not only totally illiterate, but is also wanted by the law in the states of Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, and Arkansas. "Oh, God!" cried the Reverend. "Lies, lies." He began reading feverishly from his open Bible, on a variety of charges, the most recent of which involved a girl of 11 years, I said 11, who had come to him in trust, and whom he was surprised in the act of violating while actually clothed in the livery of his God. A moan swept through the crowd. A lady sank to her knees. "This is him," cried the Reverend, sobbing. "This is him, the devil. Here he stands. Let's hang the turd, old cold and ugly Doug, from the gallery to the rear." Now, not 3 weeks before this, he was run out from Fort Smith, Arkansas, for having congress with a goat. Yes, lady, that is what I said. Goat. "Why, damn my eyes if I won't shoot the son of a bitch," said a man, rising at the far side of the tent, drawing a pistol from his boot. He leveled it and fired. The young teamster instantly produced a knife from his clothing and unseamed the tent and stepped outside into the rain. The kid followed. They ducked low and ran across the mud towards the hotel. Already gunfire was general within the tent, and a dozen exits had been hacked through the canvas walls, and people were pouring out. Women screaming, folk stumbling, folk trampled underfoot in the mud. The kid and his friend reached the hotel gallery and wiped the water from their eyes and turned to watch. As they did so, the tent began to sway and buckle like a huge and wounded Medusa. It slowly settled to the ground, tailing tattered canvas walls and ratty guy ropes over the ground. That was pretty nice.